Hello everybody, my name is Hafrisha and this is the brand new Perodua Aruz SUV. Just launched in Malaysia between 73,000 ringgit to 78,000 ringgit. So, what's Perodua's brand new 7-seat SUV like? Let's take a look. First things first, this is based on the Toyota Rush. There's no hiding that. Anyway, I think this actually looks better than the Toyota Rush. The whole bumper looks a lot simpler, less aggressive, less, busy. But maybe that's just me. Let us know what you think. And of course, the Perodua also has a completely unique interior, which we'll show you in a bit. So in terms of price, this car is about 20,000 ringgit cheaper than the Toyota Rush. And the only things that the Toyota add on are 360-degree camera, digital aircon, and blind spot assist. And of course, the all-important Toyota badge. Do you think that's worth 20,000 ringgit? Well, I don't think so. This one right here is the 1.5X, the cheaper version. It's 5,000 ringgit less than the 1.5 AV, but it looks pretty much the same, doesn't it? There are just very few differences here. There's no fog lamps, there's no silver trim at the front bumper, and if you look up top, there's no roof rails. But beyond that, they look pretty much identical. The differences are more apparent inside, which we'll take a look later. Around the back, again, it's pretty much identical to the Toyota Rush, but that's a pretty handsome looking car by itself. There's high-mounted LED tail lamps up here, and the bumper, the Perodua version, is a lot simpler again, less black plastic. It looks more, well, I would say sporty, but then again, this is an SUV, so let's just say it looks prettier. Moving on to standard equipment, this car gets a lot of standard kit because even the X is, well, it's almost a premium X kind of spec. Standard, you get LED headlamps. If you get the AV, you get automatic headlamps as well. And on the side here, you get 17-inch wheels with quality Bridgestone rubber. That's standard across the whole range. Under the hood is the same engine you find in the Perodua Myvi, 1.5-litre dual VVTi engine making 104 PS and 136 Nm of torque. Power gets to the rear wheels. Yes, the rear wheels. This is a rear-wheel drive car through a 4-speed automatic transmission. And yes, there's no more manual transmission, which is a bit of a shame. Onto the side, you can see just how long this car is. It's 4.4 meters long, a little bit longer than the Alza, which is measured at 4.2 meters. It's also the tallest Perodua ever at 1.7 meters tall. As for the interior, like I said, it's completely different to what the Rush has. And again, I think this looks better. Well, what do you think? Again, let us know in the comments below. I think the one in the Rush looks a little bit too simple for Malaysian taste. And this being designed from the ground up, the design to be for Malaysian taste, they've added a lot more detail, a lot more piano black, a lot more, well, silver highlights and chrome highlights to make the whole car pop. I think they've done pretty well. The design is pretty practical. The center console here is very narrow, so you get a lot of space to move your legs around. Very important for an SUV because this is designed for long distance cruising, right? At the top here, you get a nice place to put your sunnies, a first for Perodua. Down here is a big touchscreen, and you can also hook up your phone for a full mirror link. But again, it only works for Android, so iPhone users, too bad I suppose. At the bottom down here is the same aircon controls as in the latest Myvi. It's still manual, of course, there's no automatic controls here, but the controls are digital, which is a lot better than, normal looking knobs and stuff. Also unique for the aircon controls, there's now memory functions, same as the Myvi. So you can set one for, like, say, very cool days, one for very hot days. Again, it's unique for Malaysia, and I think it works very well. Down here, you get a lot of HDMI ports, you get USB ports, you get charging ports for every single row actually. That's pretty convenient. And check out the key. Like the Myvi, keyless entry and push start button is standard across the range. It doesn't matter what variant you buy, you get this nifty key with a push start button. Pretty good. As for the back, the space is very decent indeed. As you can see, there's a lot of legroom left, and you can also slide the seats a little bit forward, a little bit back, so you can manage the space between the middle row and the last row. But what's more important, of course, is this. It's got rear aircon vents for the very first time for a Perodua. this is a godsend because, you know, this is Malaysia, it's very hot. So yeah, having blower controls back here, finally your last 2 rows can get a little bit of quiet, bit of peace. It's good. Now the acid test for a 3-row vehicle, the last row seats. Well, this comes with a front forward tumble, which is good, but this being an SUV, the door aperture isn't that big if you compare against a regular proper MPV. So climbing in, it's gonna be a bit difficult. So let's try this. A small gap, a big guy. Let's go. Not so bad actually. Now, yeah, legroom is not great, even for a guy as short as me. So, well, you can sort of fit adults back here, but for shorter journeys only. But for kids, this is perfect. As for the boot space, as you can see, it's not that huge. With all the seats up, you get about 213 liters of space, which is decent. But if you want more space, you can always fold all the seats down. The seats don't fold flat, unfortunately, it just folds down, but at least you get a deep and very, very high load space. There's also a long load bay, so you can fold the front passenger seat all the way down and load in a very, very long item. Fairly practical. And this is the interior of the basic 1.5X. As I mentioned before, there's a much bigger difference inside as it is on the outside. So there you go. All the silver bits, all the piano black bits are all gone, replaced by plain black grey plastic. So yeah, this car looks a little bit basic if you ask me, but the functionalities all remain the same. Another difference is of course the seats. There's now fabric instead of leather. But again, the fabric feels good. It's a pretty high quality fabric, and you also lose out leather touch on the steering wheel and the gear knob. It's not a big difference, but you know, it really shows that you've bought the cheap car. One more piece of important kit that the X does not have over the AV is the inclusion of DVR, a dash cam as standard. Only the AV gets that. And this saves you from having to go to accessory shops like Brothers and whatnot. And it also saves you from having to wire your whole DVR cable through your dashboard. I think it's a good thing. Another crucial difference between the two variants is the inclusion of ASA 2.0 on the AV variant. Yes, it's ASA 2.0, much more advanced compared to the one in the Myvi. The autonomous emergency braking now works at up to 80 kilometers per hour, up from 30 in the Myvi, and pre-collision warning that gives you a buzzer if you're coming up into a crash, the car will detect for you, and that works at up to 100 kilometers per hour now. So the X version misses out on all those active safety features, but at least it retains the same standard kit, which is 6 airbags and electronic stability control. And these cars also have the full 5-star R7 NCAP crash safety rating. So there you have it, a quick view of the new Perodua Aruz, just launched in Malaysia. Well, you can pardon the crowd behind me because this is the launch, so we'll do a much more proper video review, well, maybe a driven episode, watch out for that. For now, what do you think of this? I think the AV is a much more worth it product compared to the X because it adds on a lot more features. It looks pretty much the same, but there's a lot more technology, a lot more safety stuff, and the interior especially looks a lot better. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching.